Well, as most of us have noticed, school has returned. It's in full swing, which means a lot of school buses on the roads out there. And you might be a little iffy, like I was, about the specific rules of your car or your truck and that school bus. So we bring in the experts. We've got Tom Sinas from Sinas Dramis Law Firm with us in our Know the Law segment, featuring today school bus law. Hello, Tom.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me. It's a good time to talk about this topic. And you are right. It is a confusing little area of law that I don't think people realize maybe that they don't know until they need to know it.
So let me ask a specific question, Tom, not to cut you short, but let's put you in my shoes. I'm driving down Kalamazoo Avenue. I see a school bus in the right-hand lane. It's got its yellow flashers on. The stop sign isn't out, but the yellow flashers on, and I see kids getting on that bus on the right-hand side. I'm in the left lane. I slow way down. I get as far over as possible and I go by them. And now I'm probably wrong here, right? The yellow lights versus the red light and the stop sign. Can you break it down? What are the basics?
Yes, let's break it down. And those red lights really do matter. And I'm going to actually read the sentence of the law that applies here. And it says as follows: the operator of a vehicle overtaking or meeting a school bus that has stopped and is displaying two alternately flashing red lights at the same level shall bring the vehicle to a full stop not less than 20 feet from the bus and shall not proceed until the bus resumes motion or the visual signals are no longer present. So what do we have there? Well, if the bus is displaying those two alternate red flashing lights, then the operator of the vehicle in either direction has to come to a complete stop, has to do so no closer than 20 feet from the bus, and has to remain stopped until the alternating lights are not flashing anymore or until the bus moves. And that concept of on the other side of the road is really important because I think that's something that is common for people to forget. The only exception to that is if you're on the other side of a road that has some type of physical barrier between you and the opposite side of the road where the bus is. And so, but most often, we're encountering these buses in residential areas, which means that both cars going both directions have to come to a complete stop. And I think some people think, oh, well, maybe it has to have that stop sign that pops out of the bus. The statute does not say a stop sign. It talks about the two alternating red lights, which of course you see that in conjunction with the stop sign, but you need to look for those two red lights and you need to come to a complete stop and you need to stay stopped.
Well, the good news is I think I'm in the clear with the flashing yellow lights. Whew, that's good to hear, but also good to know and to remember about that opposing traffic that on the other side of the road that you have to stop. Has the law changed recently?
So the law is about to change in October of this year. And it's not going to change the concept that we just talked about, but some small changes here. And I think they really have to do with trying to give better ways to enforce this law, because sadly, this law is frequently broken. And of course, when it's broken, that results so often in serious injuries to young children. So the law change going into effect in October will permit the use of what the statute calls stop arm cameras, but they're really just cameras on the side of the bus that will allow the bus to take pictures of those people who are not following these rules. And those pictures or images can be then used and given to law enforcement and prosecution to prosecute people who violate the law. Because of course, a bus driver has a lot of other things going on when they're trying to get kids on and off the bus. And so the use of the stop arm system is designed to give law enforcement a way to identify those people who are violating the rules and to give them a tool in prosecuting this particular offense. So that's going to change in October. The other thing that's going to change is this statute says that violating the law is a civil infraction. Some people think of that as a ticket. It used to say that the judge could then impose up to 100 hours of community service in a school. The community service piece has been taken away. And I think the idea there, again, is that the focus wants to be on targeting those people who are violating this, proving the violation, and prosecuting them through the civil infraction process. So those are the changes that are coming up this year.
And do we have any information on how people will be notified? Is this going to be similar to what you'll see in those other states where They have the easy pass, and maybe you whip through that lane without an easy pass. Are you getting an email or a letter in the mail saying, hey?
I think it's a good question. I think you'll get notification the way that you would if you got a ticket, and this stop arm camera images can then be used in conjunction with the prosecution itself.
Absolutely. Great information to know. So once again, the basics, if you see those red lights, stop, no matter which side of the traffic you're flowing, unless there's that barrier in between the lanes, you need to stop and don't get any closer than 20 feet. Don't start moving until that bus starts moving. Make sure everybody is safe. Obviously, this is the end goal here, is to make sure that all those children are safe on that bus getting to their destination. And again, as Tom mentioned, the law is changing to where the consequences might be, what would you call that, a stiffer penalty? Is that what they're doing?
No, the penalty is the same. But one thing to remember on the civil side of things, meaning if you were to violate this rule and heaven forbid injure a child, that is not changing. The violation of this rule would be what we would call negligence, which means failing to use reasonable care. And that has been true and that remains true. On the other side of things, on the civil infraction side, that part has not changed. But what I think we may see is just increased enforcement of this particular statute, because we obviously do not want this happening, because we don't want our kids put in danger when they're getting on and off the bus.
Well, tell you what, I know who's the happiest right now are those bus drivers, because I'm sure they've seen that way too many times. Somebody zipping by that bus while their stop sign is out. And now all that enforcement is going to be a bit stricter. Where can people get more information in case they want to dive a little bit deeper into this to make sure that they know all the law?
They can find us online at www.sinasdramis.com. They can give us a call, 616-301-3333, or shoot us an email at info@sinasdramis.com.
As always, great to talk to you, Tom.
Thank you so much.